And that's really amazing. And there's anything people want to share. So I know the theme is dare. And so recently when I was at work, I had to get a new computer. It was a whole thing. It's been very messy couple weeks at Hester and Cook, I will say. But I was talking to my IT guy when he was helping me set up the computer, and he got a call. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I have to take this." And he ran out of the room and he came back and was like, "Okay, so that was very rude, but let me explain. I'm working with a client right now, and someone at their office has downloaded a virus, and that virus reads the texts aloud as they come in. Can you imagine every text you receive on any device that you made the ill choice of having in that room or connecting to your computer at one point, even to charge, read aloud for your entire office to hear? Think of the dumb roommate texts, the college friends, all of that magic. And so I'm going to ask you guys right now to follow the spirit of dare and read your last text aloud. Who's brave? Who's daring? If you want, I can go first. Let's see. Technically, the last text I received was a laugh reaction to my friend Leah, who said, "They keep asking me to be in their vlog because I'm a cool teacher and I keep saying no." So pretty innocuous, but yeah, my friend Leah teaches up in Hermitage. She's a high school drama teacher, and all her kids are doing a lot of TikToking. So, but they're calling them vlogs now, apparently, which makes me feel absolutely ancient because I'm just like, why would you do that? That's terrible. So, all right, daring people. Who else is going to read the last?
Mine was just a link to my sister Sonia to this Zoom, so that's boring. But other than that, I also sent my
The last one you received.
the last text I received.
Yeah.
Oh shoot. Oh, it's an "I'm so excited" GIF that has like ducks on it.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
getting brunch
Dance,
with a
little
friend
duck,
on Sunday, and
dance.
we're excited about brunch.
Yes. Oh, where are you going to brunch?
We're going to this place called The Goat in Mount Juliet. I think I saw somebody in here is in Mount Juliet. I think I've never been there, so tell me if it's good.
Very cute. Yeah, I miss brunch a lot. It was a really big move when Keisha taught us how to make hollandaise, because that and the salmon have been a huge part of this last year.
Okay.
So we're bringing brunch back, guys, in a personal level. And then sometimes we bring drag brunch back, which is where my roommates and I watch Drag Race and drink before noon. It's really special, really big moments.
Amazing.
So.
I love that.
All right. Is anybody else going to be daring this morning? I can come up with a different dare. So who knows what I'll come up with if we don't have anybody else be brave enough to read their last text aloud.
Mine was the link that Claire just said she sent.
Oh, we knew that already, Sonia.
So boring, Sonia.
I know.
Yeah,
and then she said sent after it, and so that. Okay.
Just extra confirmation.
Nice. I love that. It's like if you ever gotten a text from like your mom or another grown-up in your life and they sign it with their name, and I'm like, yes, I did know that was from you, but I like that confirmation just in case.
Well, it's not the last one, but it was the last one I got last night that my mom sent all of us, that said something like, "The insurrection committee is sending subpoenas flying today!" Exclamation point. She watches way
Our
too
mother
much,
watches.
and I just don't watch news, and she just fills us in via text message.
Yeah.
So why do you need to watch the news? You have a personal, a curated.
If anyone needs like a daily news update, like we could get my mom to just start a text.
You're gonna hook up with your mom.
Also weather. If there's a tornado in Texas that could eventually get here, she will let you know 2 days in advance so you can make plans to not leave your house.
I do.
So if you want that, we can offer that.
I do love that. And it's such a universal parental thing. So like for a while, I was the youngest person in my office, and a bunch, like all my other coworkers were older than me. And we were on a work trip in Atlanta, and we all separately, within 2 minutes of each other, received either phone calls or texts from our adult parents, and we are adult women. I was like, did you hear? It is snowing on 24 right now. When are you driving back to Tennessee? Oh my God. Like, and it was the funniest things. It was this universal dad moment that we all got to experience. Show of hands, do your parents text you weather updates?
Mhm.
Right? As though you do not have the ability to also check the weather or perhaps observe, yes, it is raining out there.
What? It's raining?
I know. My father called me about flooding, and I'm like, I'm in New York. I'm not even in Tennessee right now, which we talked yesterday. But I love that you're like, Tennessee's flooding right now. Did you know? So, but Austin, I think I saw you about to be daring before we started talking about weather. Don't think I
I
missed
was, oh no, I was saying that mine was good morning and happy Friday. Like it was just boring. And I feel like there might be others in the same boat as me where it's not a lack of daring. I just wish I was more entertaining.
I mean, it's a happy Friday, right? We had
It
our
is a
first
happy
day
Friday.
of fall, which felt like fall. That was huge. So yeah, officially days are getting shorter now, which I know is a bummer, but flannel season, apples, not feeling like a weirdo for enjoying hot tea. Like
Right?
fall's
All of the
coming,
mellow
guys.
music we
It's
were talking
exciting.
about.
Yeah. So, well, thanks so much for being crazy and thinking about weather with me. I know it's incredibly lame, but I'm excited for fall. Does anybody have any favorite fall things they're looking forward to?
I have I have a text message that I can share that's
Yes,
quite
Will.
funny.
Go.
It's a photo with my family on WhatsApp, and my mum's text immediately after, terrible photo for deletion. And this is the photo. Wait, hang on, I'll turn
No,
off
it's
the blur.
blurry. Terrible photo for deletion.
For deletion.
I'm sure she'll be
A terrible
thrilled to
photo
know-
of me as well, but it was pretty funny.
I'm sure she'll be really excited to know that 21 people across the globe saw her terrible for deletion photo. So my sister-in-law is like that. She'll share any photo, and I'm like, who thought that was a choice? Who believed in that photograph, young lady? So, well, I appreciate your daring, everybody. But yeah, so in the spirit of daring, I dared all of you, all of our Creative Mornings friends, to be brave and take the stage. And in this case, yes, it's a screen, but don't worry, I am working on some stuff, and Creative Mornings HQ has said we're gonna get to do in-person stuff soon. I know it has been over a year of making sure it is vaguely presentable behind me. And I'm so excited to be at a place that is presentable to begin with. It's so good. We're talking about it. We're figuring it out. We're making sure everyone's comfortable. So soon we'll be together again, eating every banana in Nashville and every tiny donut and fresh coffee. It's huge. Coffee you didn't make yourself. What a world. So, but anyway, sorry for that tangent of celebration that I'm very excited about. But yeah, we're daring you guys to be on the stage and share your stories with these lovely folk. And we're starting with our friend Steve, again, Mojo Media Pros, and he's going to be talking about freelancing. And the name of his talk is Freelance, Dare to Bet on Yourself. And so I think that's a dare that a lot of us creatives can appreciate. And so I'm going to let Steve go ahead and get started.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here this morning and sharing. And I think I'm sharing now, right? Everybody see me? Perfect. All right, I'm shooting for the 5-minute mark because that's what because I know I can go long. So we'll see if we can make that work. It's 9:05. Let's see how we do. Okay, so yeah, I'm talking about freelancing and daring to bet on yourself, and we'll see if we get there. A few words about me, just so you know why I'm coming at this the way I do. I've been fortunate to have a really long career, and I've made a lot of stuff. And in the process, I've worked with a lot of great people, and then mostly been freelancers. And frankly, I've been a freelancer much of my career. And I'm very much an advocate of the freelance economy. I have been throughout my whole career. And if you were to go to my LinkedIn page, and you'd see a lot of writing about this very topic, things that work for freelancers and how to be better at it. And we post a lot of content in that department. And so it's not something I just came up with for this morning, is the point of all that. Part of my DARE story was, so in 2012, I was hired. Clients hired me away, and I went to work for a company called Agilix, and ultimately became the VP of professional services. But after 3 years, that sort of abruptly ended, not only for me, but a whole division of people that we'd put together. And so I had one of these crossroads moments. I was getting on in my age and career, and I'm going like, do I go look for another job, or do I get serious about Mojo? And you can kind of see what happened to Mojo. That this represents revenue, by the way. You can see what happened to Mojo while I was busy focusing on Agilix. So thankfully, I decided, you know what, it was so disruptive, right, to have somebody just kind of end your routine, not just financially, but just emotionally, and just I said, I'm not going to go through that again. It's just ridiculous. So I really focused on that. I'm glad I did, and things have gone well. And you can see, we're back up where we were and beyond, and it was the right decision. But it was definitely like, we've been doing well, and you get complacent. I had all the benefits and all that, but ultimately, stepping out and running my own business is the same as freelancing. I've both built Mojo as a freelancer myself, and then eventually started hiring lots of other freelancers. So let's talk about the benefits of freelancing. You probably know them, but let's just be sure we're on the same page. One of the great benefits is diversity of projects. If you're, working for a particular company, you're probably doing the same thing or the same topic over and over again. If you're freelancing, you're getting to work on lots of different projects. Diversity of revenue streams. Back to this, not one person can end your income kind of a situation. So you might lose a client, but if you lose a client, you haven't lost everything and you're not starting over. So that's my thought about that. You have a lot more control over the kind of work. You get to say no to some clients, and you get, if you get really successful at freelancing, that's one of the luxuries. You can say, nah, I don't think I want to work on that. Flexible hours, of course, as a freelancer, as a consultant, you get to say, I'm sorry, I'm not available tomorrow, but how about Tuesday? You can work from anywhere. I mean, more now, people are used to this, right? But I've been doing this for a long time, and so working from anywhere is becoming a lot more acceptable. And I've done plenty of meetings from the beach and other places. As long as there's a good internet connection, nobody really seems to care where you're at, especially if you're a consultant or a freelancer. So what's some of the downsides? Well, let's be honest, you have much greater responsibility. Why? Responsibility for your own taxes, in terms of the whole amount of your tax, your benefits, you got to pay for those yourself, and marketing yourself, marketing, your work. You have to put a lot more energy into that. But so you charge more. You just make sure that you're charging enough. One of the things I would say is a lot of freelancers don't realize what they're worth. So get educated about that and realize that what you think is maybe too much might not be too much. Who knows? And of course, there's one other important side, the one that you're all thinking about. When you're a freelancer, there's no safety net, and which that thought of which will drive you nuts and leads to fear of failure. And then ultimately outright paranoia. It's just like you're going like, ah. So, but you have to overcome all of that. And, we've all heard lots of talks about this, but you just have to overcome it and believe in yourself, because you're talented and everybody's got their own skill set, and we just need to go for that. So here we go. So I really believe this. Freelancing can be great if you embrace it. And really by embracing it, I'm saying you got to remember as a freelancer, you're really a company of one. You know, you are a business, run it like a business. Just think about it seriously that way. Just as organized as you can be, as professional as you can be. And, you know, we're all creative, and I feel like creativity and being creative is absolutely no excuse for not being organized. And Chrissy, I was really impressed. I got the rundown for today's, meeting, and I went, this is a lot more organized than I realized. It was like bam, bam, bam. Here's the links. Here's the stuff. So you can be creative. It's a very creative crew, but you still have to run your business like you're serious. And guess what? If you're not into freelancing, you may no longer have the choice, or may soon not have the choice about whether or not you're going to freelance. And it's just because of trends. We've all heard of, the gig economy. Well, here's a few kind of fun facts. Approximately 150 million people in North America and Western Europe have left the relatively stable confines of organizational life, sometimes by choice, sometimes not. Remember my story? To work as independent contractors. That was just before the pandemic in 2018, 3 years ago. It's pretty recent. Traditional workforce from 2005 to 2015, W-2 didn't grow at all. The people who were working for companies, full-time job, it was flat. Meanwhile, the alternative work arrangements, freelancing, gig economy, up 67%. So the last thing here is 2/3 of everyone surveyed, in this case it was millennials, agreed that traditional full-time employment will largely disappear and freelancers will make up 75% of the US market. So all I would say about that is, like, don't freak out or anything if you're not into, there's always going to be full-time jobs, but there's less and less of them. And so getting out ahead of this and thinking about believing in yourself and starting a freelance career before it's kind of thrust upon you might be really important to you. So here's the good news. 80% of the individuals who make the transition from traditional to indie work and last for 12 months. If you make it for 12 months, will go back to report that they would never go back to doing it any other way again. You just got to figure out how to do that. So what do? Well, make a transition plan and ease into it. One thing that's happened during 2020, we've all watched a lot of home improvement shows. I'm pretty sure of that. It's like, and so we did a remodel during 2020, and we had to, in our kitchen, and we had to replace a load-bearing wall. We've all heard about that on every show, right? Well, what do they do first? They build support walls. They put temporary walls in place to hold that load while they're getting ready to rip out the wall. Of course, the metaphor of ripping out the wall is, leaving your full-time job. So my suggestion would be that you have a plan in place and you ease into it. You don't just jump up and say, hey, I'm quitting and I'm going to throw out a shingle, because that might be a bit of political suicide or financial suicide. So remember the Mojo Plan, which, as I pointed out with this thing, I was working for other companies while I was building this in the background, freelancing, until I got to the point where I felt like I could. And so from 2010, 11 actually, I started freelancing full time for these companies, but building up my business while I was doing it. And then, I already explained that dip and then back off again. But I didn't just, jump out of a plane. I had a plan. So, and by the way, with, in that idea, we're always seeking great people. And, we talked about that earlier, but copywriters, marketing strategists, designers, CMS integrators, this is just to name a few here. Business analysts if you have that inkling, we're always looking for those folks. So anyway, that's my talk. And I hope that meant something to the rest of you.
Yes, give it up for Steve. Yes, I know you can raise the roof, jazz hands, there's applause on Zoom. We learned that. So, but yeah, that was incredible. I think, someone in the chat pointed out that, people are more and more realizing the benefits of things like freelance and remote work. And that's a really cool thing. We'll say benefit of this past year and a half. Maybe, I don't know. It could be a great thing. So
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
So yeah, show of hands, freelancers or people who do freelance in addition to their regular job, because we're all artists and we live in scarcity. Yeah. So
Yay. Well, good on you.
and
That was for you, Will, by the way.
so all right, well, thanks for that. And it's okay that we went past the time. It's why we built stuff in. It's amazing. And one of our speakers actually couldn't make it this morning, so we are going to go right into our next talk with Jose, speaking about daring to be optimistic, which I'm very excited to see how you're going to convince me of optimism in this very dark time. So welcome to the stage and take it away.
Thank you. Thanks. Definitely thought there was somebody else before me.
I know.
But I'm ready. So as Christy mentioned, my name is Jose, and I want to highlight a resource that I think we're in short supply of at the moment, which is optimism. And as a little introduction, background on me, I'm an artist and producer manager here in Nashville. Go figure, somebody in Nashville working in the music industry. But I used to be a musician myself. I used to write, play, do all those things. And then I figured out I wasn't maybe as good at doing it myself. So now I help other artists with their art. And I help manage, guide, spear the careers of songwriters, producers, bands. I've managed speakers as well. And so I'm in that creative world as a manager, hearing and seeing all the good and the bad, the ups and downs. But back to optimism, it sounds like a very simple thing in a way. You know, teachers, parents, siblings, friends, coaches, they're always encouraging us and telling us, don't give up, work hard, you can do better. You know, things like that. Those are the things that are supposed to get us across the finish line. And sure, they, you know, knowing that they believe in us is definitely inspiring. But I think in my head, what I'm more interested in is knowing the deeper reasoning behind that. Why do some people succeed when they're told not to give up? Why do some people not even try? And why do some people do try? So I believe it's based on optimism. But then again, we're back to the same circle. What is optimism? And I think optimism is that thing that flows through us, that moves us, gets us across the race, the finish line faster, and you know, kicks in the turbo when we're running a race. It's kind of giving that 110% at work when we're asked to work harder. I think for a lot of people, optimism is really the reason for not giving up. And sure, while we might have some extrinsic reasons for doing, you know, whatever the thing is that we're doing, where people tell us not to give up, such as doing it for a friend, a parent, to not disappoint, whatever the reason might be, I believe that's a surface reason. But I think intrinsically, deep down inside, you're optimistic if you don't give up and you can achieve, you know, that thing secondarily for your extrinsic reason. So I think without optimism, we don't even get to the point of trying or working harder or doing better. And I think that's really why we do things. But again, beyond the surface of, you know, why we're doing it, it's because I think we have an intrinsic belief that we can get better if we work harder at it. And I think the silver lining there is hope, having hope, or that there's a chance. So unfortunately, we're not built with this kind of statistician minds from birth of knowing, you know, exactly the likelihood of something happening in our favor as we go and try something or face a challenge. There's so many external factors we can't even control. So why do optimists do these things? What's that chance based on? Why hold out hope based on what? So, you know, there's the statistical probability that whatever you're doing you might very well end up being wrong or fail. However, I think optimists just have made peace with the possibility that they're not going to come out on top. They're not going to be successful. They're not going to get the result they want, and they're okay with that. And I think that's why you can go that extra mile. You can, despite being told, don't give up, do better, all those kind of cheerful things that we hear on an everyday basis. Those are great and all, but I think there's something more intrinsic behind all of that. Like I said, that slowly you're okay with the failure. You're okay with whatever the result might be that may not be what you expected. And I think slowly that builds confidence. And confidence and optimism, to me, are best friends in that way. They go hand in hand. And people often confuse being confident with somebody that's always right, or think they'll always be right, or that they'll always succeed, or that they're better than others. But for me, confidence is really less about believing that you'll succeed and more about being comfortable with the idea of failing and falling short. And I think that's a distinction that a lot of people don't make when talking about confidence, which I think in a way, when you combine confidence and optimism, well, those are actually really hard things to do. And I mean, I know we don't need a Creative Mornings talk to talk to us about laziness and how easy it is to be lazy. Our brains love it though. We're wired that way. Our brain always wants to take the path of least resistance, the biggest shortcut that we can get. And I think in a way, it's a lot of the wiring of how we came about. Our brain was always concerned about being eaten by wild animals back in the day, and now it's still analyzing the best solution for how to stay alive and surviving. But now we're trying to survive from different social situations, awkwardness, embarrassment, things on social media. And so at the same time, what we want to do is in a way, now that we're at least all of us here, up since 8 a.m. or so, it was kind of hard, wasn't it? Sometimes it's just hard to do that thing and to get up in the morning and to show up, even just showing up. But that already is an optimistic outlook. So doing the optimistic thing, being optimistic, is really doing a hard thing. And that's why it goes so contrary to what we're wired to do. We always want to find the easiest thing to do, the easiest way to do it. But optimism is hard. And just like a habit, eventually, after you do it for a while, the path gets built into your brain to continue to think optimistic. And the good thing is that I believe optimism is something that can be learned. So you don't have to just be born with this thing or always have been that way. And I think that's really what I like about it. So, we always face pessimistic, negative people or just downers. And that just tells me that we just got to work harder than them. But why is that? I mean, even though things might look grim or people might believe that there's no hope, I believe there's always hope. There's always a chance. Maybe not a good one, sure. But I think that's what optimism is there for, is to climb that hill, see what's on the other side, see both sides of the coin. And, not all hope is always lost, right? That's the quote we hear a lot. Not everything in the world is bad. Not everything is dying, about to blow up or be destroyed. Sure, a lot of things are, but we can't fixate on the state of those things right now and stay stuck there. I think we can accept those things. We can move on and then do the hard thing, rebuild, fix, believe that you can turn it around despite the odds. And so I believe that doesn't matter how bad things might look or be, or what the outlook or the chances might be, even the chances of failure, we still have to do the hard thing and put in the necessary effort, the skill, the passion, whatever we have to provide to try to at least find an alternative outcome to the way things are. And whatever that might be, whether it's in the world, personal, work life, and just reject the idea that things will stay the way they always are. If there's one thing that's a constant for sure in this world, is change. And we can learn a lot from different people. One of the people that I just recently have been reading about is Stephen Hawking. who's the brilliant cosmologist who was diagnosed with ALS at age 21, was only given 2 years to live. He went from being a perfectly functioning person to slowly paralyzed entirely in his body and being wheelchair bound for the rest of his long life that he lived to be 74 before he died. He lost all control of his motor movements, all muscles. He even had to use a voice synthesizer to speak. And so I think we can agree that he had a pretty challenging life. However, he believed that there should be no boundaries to any human endeavor. And he recognizes we're all different, but doesn't matter how different we are, there's always something that we can do and succeed at. So really hope is a lot of what we need to be optimistic. And the hope, people asked him, you know, what, with everything that's happened to you, how can you have hope? And he basically said, as long as there's life and humankind, there's still hope. So I think we can learn a lot from this, especially now when the times that we're living in, there's lives at stake. There's, you know, people are thinking the worst of each other. The future could look grim. That's why I think optimism is really, it's not uncool. It's not, optimism is the brave thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. I know it's a very unpopular way of being, and I believe it's even a rebellious way of being. It's a radical way to think, and I think it's a radical choice to make. So in the spirit of the theme of dare, I want to challenge all of us, or should I say, I dare all of us to be optimistic and practice optimism in our lives. Make that radical choice, make the hard choice. I think it's very worthwhile. And a lot of this, I've always believed in this, and it wasn't until 2019 where fellow Mexican and Oscar-winning filmmaker, director, and producer Guillermo del Toro finally put it in words that I love so much in his 2019 essay that was penned for Time Magazine's Optimist issue. And he said the most radical and rebellious choice you can make is to be optimistic. So thank you. I believe I have it actually right here as well that I want to show.
Yeah, and we should have a link for that to drop in the chat as well, so you guys can get your optimism fix later on today. So, but I don't know. I think it's a wild thing to consider it a radical choice, and I think people forget that it is a choice. So thank you so much for that. Definitely. Perspective, you know, and like anything, I think the more you make that choice, the easier it's going to get to continue making that choice, you know? Mm-hmm. So, right. Well, thanks so much. If you can stop sharing your screen, that'd be cool. Yep. Thank you. And yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next speaker, which is very exciting. I know. I feel like for everybody who was really pumped about the run of show that Steve complimented earlier, and then it kind of changed, that is okay. We're rolling with it. But our next speaker is Sonia. And if you guys have been on Creative Mornings for a while, you've probably seen her gorgeous face before. And she's going to talk to us about how fear is a liar. Word. So I think that that's another thing that we can all, we're probably all going to need, because yeah, fear is very real, especially now. So
it's a hot mess right now.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have Sonia speak to us today. So I'm gonna go ahead and spotlight that and welcome her to the stage.
Yay, thank y'all. I am so excited to go after Jose, because Jose like pumped me up with the optimism, and then I'm coming right on in with some practices on yeah, dispelling that fear and like really deepening into our intuition. So I'm just going to get started. I am a writer first, a storyteller second, and in high school, my senior high school teacher told me Your writings are amazing, Sonia, but the reading of them just can't compare. So I'm going to be reading. I am not, it's going to be great, but it is going to be very much me reading my scripted 7 minutes and hoping that I can keep it under that amount of time. All right, let's go. So hello, I'm Sonia Fernandez Leblanc. So since 2011, a tremendous part of my daily inner work at the intersection of mental health, soul sovereignty, and medicinal storytelling, and my daily outer work at the intersection of self-directed learning, liberation, and reciprocal responsibility resides in fear. Unearthing how we manage fear and practicing how we can reframe it for ourselves, away from all the outside information constantly offered as subversion from our own intuitive knowing. This is my life's work. So today, because I am a storyteller, I have crafted a story from my decade of daily perspective and contemplation on why we as a society are so assimilated into a life of fear. And because I am a teacher and a guide, I have some practices to offer that can limit that constant channel set to breaking news into which our society expects we all are always tuned. Can I get an amen for that, right? So first, my story that is titled, Fear is a Liar. So I connect with fear every time I feel him. And my apologies, gentlemen, but I have personified fear as a man. It means nothing. It's just my matrilineal personage, but I believe we all have the ability to be matrilineal elders, and that divine masculinity and divine femininity can come together. I just, in the patriarchy, have made him fear. Okay, so I feel him and I sense him in others. So when I do that, okay, each time I feel that, I intentionally drop in and I meet him face to face. Here is what I have learned from all those years of choosing curiosity around fear. This energy dwells deep at our core, within our DNA, because we needed fear to survive and to evolve into the species of humans we are today. Primordial fear that came with the dawning of our sentience, and which over millennia manifested as ancestral trauma passed through our DNA, wraps and envelopes itself like a warm security blanket around our more modern fears. Fear is burrowed in protection at our core. We can further the analogy of protection as a really dark, comforting cave deep within each of us, where fear dwells with an unfettered supply of collective and individual ancestral trauma to fuel the fire that keeps him content in his cozy abode. Do y'all see him? Can y'all feel him down in there? Ew. He likes to be there, and he knows that we as a species intrinsically know that without him, we probably wouldn't be where we are today. When fear comes out of his cave to play, which in the age that we're in, which are the last gasps of dying supremacist systemic societal structures, a global pandemic, and the start of the Anthropocene, feels like all the damn time right now. He uses the brain, those big fat brains of ours, to tag us like we're playing tag, which can get confusing because we humans are indoctrinated into this tale that our advanced brains give us righteous power over all creatures great and small. But y'all, that is fear down in his cave at the core of your being, screaming through a bullhorn into your brain that you are it, and that saber-toothed tiger is coming to eat you up. So, some of our universal ancestors listened to fear, but they knew how to filter him through their instincts, their gut, their divine senses, their intuition, and that allowed them to survive and evolve for generations. But some of those ancestors stopped listening through the filter of their intuition and decided to listen directly to fear's bullhorn echoing around in our brains, which bred the need for power over rather than a collective powerful understanding of all. And that's when fear knew he had the bull by the horns, so to speak. He reclused himself even deeper into our core and began feeding off the felt power he had manifested in the brains of humans. That luxurious tiny cave where fear lives has guards posted at the entrance. Fear rarely leaves his comfortable home because we don't need to give flight that much anymore, even though mainstream society tells us that we do all the damn time. So in some humans, fear has anger and hatred on guard, and I'm sure we see that a lot. That's when things get really scary, right? Fear loves how scary we feel, how scary that is. Fear loves our world right now. Fear owns this society we live in, every single aspect of it. I bet we can think of something we fear right now that brings out anger and hatred right in this very moment. And I bet we would argue that the anger we feel has nothing to do with fear. But that is a lie fear is feeding us. Like I said, fear is a big fat liar. Sometimes fear lives out in the open with worry as his guardian. It's a tricky codependent relationship where worry claims that love is the reason for their incessant need to scream into the bullhorn directly into our brains. Y'all's parents calling y'all about the weather. Okay. Wrap it back in. It's fascinating once you see truly how fear is always at the core. You see how it's got us this far in our survival and how it also could be our downfall. It deserves to be acknowledged, and then it needs to be told to have a seat. And we can know where to start honing in on the fear based on our triggers, y'all, which is where our soul is waiting for us to get to work. When a trigger alerts us through emotions, such as that I'm sure we're all familiar with, worry, shame, anger, bitterness, frustration, disappointment, etc., that is simply the moment when we can begin to face our fear by calling forth our soul's knowing. So here are some practices on how we can filter fear through our soul's knowing, which is just as old and embedded in our deep insides as fear is. As creatives, many of us have personal stories about how when we are in our creative zone, we thrive. But when we start thinking about it, that's when the creativity shuts down. Creativity can be our guide since it's a product of the soul in physical form. We get conditioned in this society to use our brains, and we definitely should learn and satiate our natural and beautiful curiosity. But if you want to have balance, and 'tis the season of Libra, y'all, in your personal decisions, the brain is always going to play ping pong with tons of information and second guessing. I dare you to begin making all your decisions with that quiet inner authority that is so often drowned out by fear's bullhorn straight to the brain. This lady that I love to listen to her podcast, her name is Lindsay Mack of Wild Soul Healing, gives this brilliant analogy of radio stations. Radio 1 is the brain, turned up really loud. Think old school Nashvillians, 103.3 KDF back in the day when it was all rock. Y'all remember? Now it's country, hashtag old Nashville. It's depressing. But pretend like KDF is turned up radio 1 all the way. So radio 2 is our soul knowing, which can't be turned up as it's exactly as it should be heard. Quiet and soothing. Okay, I'm gonna sing for y'all. Delilah, love someone tonight. Y'all, if y'all know the Delilah reference, you know that if Katie Rock is playing, you can't hear Delilah and her stories and her beautiful songs. You gotta turn it down to hear Delilah's soft intonations. So I'm dating myself. I hope someone gets these references. So we got to turn radio 1 of the brain down so that we can listen to radio 2 of the soul, whose subtle, intuitive, divinely instinctual, melodious whispers have supported our evolution right alongside fear this whole time. Radio 2, that soul knowing, tells fear to settle down and give his guardians and guards a break. It's a practice in boundary setting. And each of us knows deep down where we want to set those boundaries because it's picking at us, okay? As Sting says, let your soul be your pilot. So there's a healthy relationship between fear and the soul. The balance that rests in the soul's knowing allows us to respect fear when we need it to survive, like wear a mask, okay. Free ourselves from fear's unnecessary, incessant grip, and hold fear accountable when it tries to overthrow the balance. When we experience fear based reactive emotions, again, of anger, frustration, shame, bitterness, disappointment. That is our message, again, to stop, take a breath, practice mindful self-compassion, or whatever your therapy session is telling you to do. Go to therapy, figure out some practices for that, and then rebalance, filtering the outside information that triggered the reaction through radio 2 of the soul. Allow the waves of emotion to calm. And then this practice that we are going to do over and over again heals our trauma little by little, baby steps, long game, in this life and within the DNA we hold of our ancestors. So y'all, we're healing ourselves and our ancestral line in order to be the authentic human beings our souls embodied to be in this lifetime, which leads us to be expansive, compassionate, equitable, heart-centered, magical beings of light, y'all. And then we can help create new, unbroken, unrotten systems that will really care for and support the generations to come. Can I get another amen? Okay, so I'll leave you with this daring proposition. As we wane into the darkening, quiet hibernation time of the year, create a habit of stopping and showing self-gratitude when you listen to your soul and hear fear and its collaborators less. In this practice, we can transform into the elders that our vastly changing society needs and deserves in this time. We are embodied in this strange, terrible, beautiful time because we are the bridge generations who will hold space for and support our living and future descendants at the end of an era we neither ushered forth nor will in this lifetime be able to rectify. Simply deciding through the filter of your soul is exactly what we can all do to support the healing of ourselves and the world, y'all. As is the micro, so is the macro. If you feel called to connect with me, I'm Sonia Fernandez Leblanc on all the social medias, and you can stop over at Revolutions Imaginarium, which is my little corner of the internet. It's revolutions.me, where we're connecting in community around practices of medicinal storytelling, matriarchal elderhood, which means for all of us, not just the ladies, embodied divinity, and contemplative futuring. Our mantra is root down, rise up to the revolutions. All definitions apply. Thanks for having me, Creative Mornings Nashville. Cheers.
Oh my goodness, everybody. That was, again, we've had a lot of preach in the chat, but preach, that was incredible. Like, I think we're all like starting this day like really motivated. We've got getting away from fear and not thinking about him. We've got taking optimism into our hearts. We've got remembering ourselves as like strong, capable people and being able to take care of ourselves as freelancers. Like, this is a really powerful day so far. I'm really excited about it. And when Sonia was talking about the intuitiveness and listening to like, you know, like our elder guides and things like that, a friend of mine who's Filipino told me once that like gut feelings and intuition is like our ancestors taking care of us. And I thought that was just such a cool concept. And so, yeah, listening to these gut feelings and all these like greater forces that are taking care of us in the universe. Oh, I'm all like tingly. So, well, that was fabulous. And we've got another speaker lined up who I'm sure is going to continue this train of fabulousness and motivation and excitement that we're all starting our Friday with. So we've got Andres coming up, and his talk is called Dare to Face Otherness. And I think that's going to be another banger. I know that's not a professional answer to how I'm describing this incredible talk we're about to experience, but welcome to the stage, Andres, and let's go.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you all for sharing your wonderful stories, and thank you for being here. And Sonia, thank you for talking on fear. Very powerful, and my heart is pounding right now, but And thanks for the introduction, Christy. So I'm going to take us on a journey, and just ride it with me. Write it with me, if you may. This is not for sensitive conversation. It's very real, and it's very intimate. And it's not a story I share often, and it's not a story I share publicly. But I am daring myself to do so more because I think it's important. And let me piggyback what Sonia said. And I'm also going to read my story because I wrote something and it's a little intense for me. So just warning, it's a little personal and emotional. Thank you for listening. My talk is called Dare to Face Otherness. All right, I want you to remember your childhood. Think about it. The sweet moments of family gatherings, the food your abuelita cooked, the music, laughing with your cousins, the times when you were held tightly in your grandmother's arms, and her tenderness, her nurturing love, the times you felt alive. You were a tender child. Now picture yourself at age 10, innocent, unknowing. For reasons too abstract for you to comprehend, life changes. You're picked up from the place that you used to know. And the place that you once called home. You're displaced to a completely opposite environment. An environment that would soon define you as the other. A whirlwind of trauma, instability, and fear. Hola, my name is Andres Bustamante, and I am a 31-year-old artist born in Cali, Colombia, living in Nashville, Tennessee since I was 10. This is my story of being an immigrant and a political refugee escaping political terrorism from Colombia. But this isn't just my story. It's the story of millions of others who uproot their lives for el sueño americano, the American dream. Now picture this. You are now the other. You don't belong. School isn't your safe place. Your name is actually too weird to pronounce. You don't speak the language. And on top of that, your home isn't safe. Your guardians, they perpetuate generational trauma. At age 10, you become the grown-up. Now imagine the daily fear of la migra, or ICE, immigration. Deportation hides in every corner. You're not wanted here. You're the alien, you're the subhuman. Bad hombres, bad hombres. White supremacy tells you, go back to your country, speak English, make America great again. But you cannot go back to your home country. It's no longer the safe, loving place you remember. Terrorism sheds your place of birth. Back home isn't home, and neither is el sueño americano, the American dream. You might say to yourself, wow, those experiences are horrible. I'm so sorry they went through that. I'm so sorry for them. Without realizing that your ancestors fled similar situations of terror in their nation of birth. They are a reflection of your past that's become too easy to ignore. We forgot our ancestry. We live in Los Estados Unidos de America, the land that was stolen from indigenous people, the indigenous nations, by genocidal white supremacy of colonialism, an empire built by slaves that were robbed from Africa, a nation nurtured by the same people whom are told to go back to your country. Following the cadence of many anti-immigrant ploys, the state of Tennessee passed House Bill 2315, an internal terrorism tactic allowing for police officers to collaborate with ICE deportation agents in Tennessee, in Nashville. Under that terror, you can never leave your home knowing if a traffic stop that day could mean never seeing your loved ones again. I'm experiencing that right now personally. I am not a politician. Politics are depressing to me. Talking about this isn't easy. I don't want to. I'm scared. But I have to. The news perpetuates painful narratives. Protesting, though it is very vital and powerful, that's actually not the way I communicate. But I had to respond at the height of this painful, traumatic political environment that we had in the past several years. I had to respond to a white supremacist entity that passes Muslim bans, that slaughters my sisters and brothers of color. An entity creating school to prison pipelines, that steals our lands, that poisons our waters, that prescribes poison to our poor communities and then condemns them for becoming dependent on those same prescriptions. My response is art. Creativity. The unleashing of minds, the healing of nations. My social justice and arts advocacy practice is called Persona Contemporary. Since 2018, Persona Contemporary has partnered with Turk, Tennessee immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition. Multiple community organizations serving our community, our minority communities, and most recently, Metro Arts, to empower us to heal through creative play. Art benefit fundraisers, art workshops, community murals. I dream of a world where our voices are heard in all of the colorful expressions of our divine nature. I want to see the stories of immigrants, refugees, women, BIPOC, LGBTQIA+, disabled people being told in the works of art that they create. I want to amplify more unheard voices. I want to create opportunities. I want to bridge gaps. I believe that art and creative play can heal. I dare this audience to face your fear of otherness, because we are just a reflection of each other's deepest being. We are the reflection of one another. Just look into each other's eyes. I dare you because you're in a position of power to do so, to step out of your comfort bubble. If you have ears, listen to the stories of immigrants. Go out of your way to learn and to research their journeys. If you have funds, collect works of art from minorities. Trust me, we need the funds to pay for groceries. If you're a gallerist or curator, Don't tokenize us, empower us instead. If you work in a museum, find a way to include us. If you are an architect, a developer, an interior designer, a creative, if you have a platform, include us in your projects. Find a way, bridge a gap. If you have the financial means, invest in our art practice. Include, empower, educate, mentor our underserved communities. I dare us all to unlearn supremacist bias and empower a reality where we all win. Let's work towards diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility in the platforms we are given. I dare myself to see my reflection in the others. Thank you. If you'd like to get involved, I've provided some links in the slide. Thank you for listening. I know this was intense. And thank you for your patience and kindness.
Wow, everyone, let's get on that. And if you can stop sharing your screen real quick, that would be amazing. So what a day we've had together, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing that, sharing your story and being vulnerable with us this morning. That's amazing and a very daring thing to do. And you know, I don't know if you were able to see in the chat at all, everybody was sending you so much love during your talk and wanting to give some of our strength to you while you were sharing this story with us. So that was really wonderful. Thank you. How are we feeling, everybody? If you want to like pop over to gallery view again and see all these faces, see our community that we're all a part of. Yeah. Whew. Again, there's been like so much to think about and so many good like nuggets coming out of this morning, which I want a more elegant word than nuggets. For like these little bits, gems, much better word, Claire, gems, thank you. These gems coming out of this morning, these phrases and singular instances that are just absolutely, you know, you feel them inside. That's powerful. And, you know, the healing of art and play is a very real thing. And so it's one of the reasons we're so excited when we do get to partner with other creatives and, you know, people like you for being here, because people who are more into play and togetherness and sharing stories, you know, that's amazing. Thanks for being part of this community, everybody. So we have one final thing, and I know it's 9:59, so I absolutely understand if you must dash, but we're gonna have Brandy Rowe close us out with some Dear Heart Mail. She is, I don't even know how to describe all the incredibleness that Brandy does. She focuses on beauty inside and out for people in Nashville, and so much wonderfulness. You should probably talk about yourself because I'm gonna get weird and crunchy if I talk about you too much. But yeah, we're gonna welcome Brandy to the stage to close this very big reflective day and start our Friday together. So welcome, Brandy.
Good morning, everyone. It's been so great to, excuse me, to be here. And I just wanted to close this out really quickly. A couple of years ago, I was doing some journaling and I just started writing these letters to my heart. And I started calling it Dear Heart Mail. Sometimes it was like I was writing to my heart. Sometimes it was like it was writing to me. And then I sort of turned it into this weekly newsletter series that I send out just to send people some encouragement, to remind them how loved and magical they are. And I really think that underneath daring is trust. That's the underpinning of being able to dare to do something. And so the mail that I'm going to share with you today is the one that went out this week. So you're welcome to just watch me read it, or if you want to close your eyes and really like take it all in, that might be good too. So here we go. Dear heart, I want to invite you on a new journey, one in which you give up the relentless pursuit of am I good enough and settle snugly into truth that you always have been. I want you to feel the seismic shift under your feet as you pivot from hustle and worth proving to the cradle of love. This new path is sourced with abundance, and there is no competition because you are on your own path. All this isn't to say it will be easy to maintain your loyalty and devotion to your life. You'll often encounter people and situations on the road who question you and invite you to doubt yourself. Stay submerged in the truth of who you are so you can see them coming and plan accordingly. Stay devoted to yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit, your purpose, your gifts, and your desires. There will be hard days that will make you want to quit and take a less complicated, more traveled path. But I beg you not to give in to conformity. Instead, quiet yourself and listen for the steady, sure heart beating in your chest and let it guide your path. You can trust yourself, dear heart. You really can. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for closing out this daring day with I really liked how you started that. The underpinning is trust, you know. It's I think that's been a big part of all the talks today, you know, and again, it's been a day for chills, and not just because it's finally fall out there. So yeah, I believe yeah, so we've got links for all the amazing speakers in the chat if you guys want to keep connecting with all the people who were brave enough to share their stories today. And you can be part of, you know, keep them in your worlds and your hearts. And hopefully as you know, move into this weekend and this new season, you know, remember all these lessons that we've gained today, and this awareness, and, you know, listening and participating and trusting yourself. And again, it's been a good one. I'm feeling it all. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you to each and every one of our speakers, Steve and Sonia and Andres and Jose and Brandy. You guys are so brave and wonderful. And yeah, gonna roll into our days feeling groovy, and happy fall. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in October. The theme is design. We've got good speakers lined up. So, all right.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much for being here.
Bye, everybody. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much.